What you know about it, James
What
Franklin?
you know about? Whoa, he's in the deep.
They coming for his head a little bit there, or did he buy himself some time with the OC firing?
I mean, they still coming for his head, man. They've been striking at him.
Well,
is it bad or not really?
It's bad. It's been very, very aggressive, very, very like hateful. Like, I know what it is. I mean, it's just, it's unfortunate that until certain things are handled a certain way, certain sectors of Penn State fans will attack anybody who's put in that position, especially if they're not doing anything to hold them off, like beating Michigan or Ohio State.
Was Yurcich the OC the entire time he's been there?
No. So I'll go through the history for you. The last time Penn State won a Big Ten championship, Joe Moorhead was their offensive coordinator.
He was the man.
2016. Yeah. The last time they had a shot at winning another Big Ten championship was 2017, when Joe Moorhead was their offensive coordinator. They came within 1 point of beating Ohio State that year. Now other years, obviously, Penn State's been a good football team, but those 2 years in particular, I would say those were the best 2 years of Penn State football at that time. Now, granted, you had Saquon, you had Trace McSorley, you had really good players too at those positions. But that's the thing is, I think these guys are really good too. Like Drew Aller is really good. I think he could be a first-round pick. I think these running backs can be guys we talk about like that. I mean, your left tackle is arguably one of the best. I like my guy Joe Alt a little better, but Fashion News right there too. They're both going to be top 10 picks. So it's just, and the defense is littered with dudes who are NFL players, and they're playing that way. But the offense isn't. It's just there's a lack of sync and rhythm and flow. And I always say this: if you're building an offense, like at least this used to be the traditional way, and you could do this from playing 3 wide receiver sets and spread offenses, but you want to have everything in the run game mimic everything in the pass game. You can't just say, we've got a run package, we have our drop back passing game and our screens, et cetera, and that's just it's too predictable. You have to be able to have some stuff with some movement. You have to be able to have some RPO, some run pass options now. You have to be able to have things off of your running game that mimics your passing game, so guys like LaVar can't just dominate you. Because otherwise, like the better athletes on the other side of the ball. And so if you're just saying we're going to line up our guys and we're going to run these sets of plays, if you can't get them running one direction and throw back the other or run back the other, if you can't find a way of getting to edges in the running game to be able to help your running backs out, they're faster. They'll get there. They'll find angles. You can't protect forever. They'll get past the offensive line. They're better athletes. You've got to now today more than ever, I think offensive coordinators get exposed because the best athletes are on defense, and in particular up front, there's a huge divide between the athletes on the defensive line and the athletes on the offensive line. And I think that gets you exposed quick if you don't know how to scheme teams up.
Yes, Moorhead was tremendous as our OC. It hasn't been the same since, and we were concerned, a lot of us were concerned that would be the issue on our defense when we lost Brent Pry as well, because he's been such an amazing coach for us.
He's done well with hot tech too, man.
Yeah, he's a dude. And Manny Diaz is a dude as well. I look at what's going on right now, and I just think that they have to find someone that's a can't miss guy. You can't miss this time. And I want to see, first off, my biggest issue here is we're not Michigan and we're not Ohio State. So anybody out there that's a Penn State fan that is trying to make it a thing like, well, we have to win this rivalry game. First of all, they're not our rival. It's not our rival.
Why not?
We joined the Big Ten as an independent. If anything, Pitt was our rival and Notre Dame was our game, like back in the day, because we were all independents. the bottom line here is that there's been this kind of way of creating a narrative where we have to be just like Michigan or we have to be just like Ohio State, and we're Penn State. So you can't sit there and say, "Oh, you didn't beat Ohio State." No, that's for Michigan. Michigan created that narrative. You have to be the coach that can beat Ohio State at Michigan. Oh, you can't beat Michigan. You got John Cooper done it. Well, that's Ohio State for Michigan. The problem I have is that we have a coach that, keep in mind, and we're a decade removed from it, but people soon forget that our program was on the blink. And when I say it was on the blink, how we talked about, flat tire and this, that, and the other earlier on in the show.
You're on blocks.
Our car didn't even have tires. Thank you. Our car didn't even have tires. Then this man came in and rejuvenated. Like, be clear, in a great time, it's hard to recruit players to go to Penn State. In a great time. Let alone a dark time where something super bad happens where it stains and hurts the reputation of the university. So the problem I have is this man is, okay, so he doesn't have a great record against top 5 teams. He doesn't have a great record against Michigan and Ohio State. But the problem I run into is, one, we judge our coach, and we haven't had many, but we had 2 coaches post Joe, and we judge them based off of what we do against Ohio State and Michigan. When I think about, Joe didn't beat Michigan or Ohio State either. I didn't get a win against Michigan. Not one. We didn't beat Michigan. So don't stop comparing him to Joe. That's the first thing. And the second thing I kind of run into and I kind of like get kind of bothered by is, you can look at the resources that go into Michigan and Ohio State football and compare them. Just pull the finances and compare how the resources that go into Ohio State football and the resources that go into Michigan football to Penn State. You got all these people bitching and moaning and groaning and flapping their gums about what James can't do and what James didn't get done and how he needs to go and this, that, and the other. What do you think the next coach is going to do? Because he's going to run into the same issues. So put your money where your flapping gums are. It's an NIL. Stop making excuses. NIL period of time. Donate money. Do what you need to do so that you can help the team and the facilities and what's going on resource-wise so that we can get Marvin Harrison Jr. So we can get the type of guys that you're looking for. And we can have, by the way, the coaching staffs that these guys are looking for. You go look at Alabama and the resources they have. Look at their coaching staff. They have like 2-3 coaches for every position. Like, literally, you're an outside linebacker. You got the main coach that's coaching outside linebackers, and you got like two what are they called? Quality control dudes, which, by the way,
or analysts.
Analysts, which, by the way, they're probably more knowledgeable than the guy that's coaching. Because it's generally a LaVar Arrington or a Brady Quinn that are those guys, analysts that are working to learn it to become coaches themselves. So that's my only problem is that man lost 2 games last year and y'all want to fire him. Like, you sound like a freaking moron. He lost 2 games. And by the way, his 2 losses so far this year, both teams were ranked number 3 at the time.
Yeah, but is it unfair for people to want them to be competitive with the 2 best teams in the conference?
They are competitive.
But well,
if so, you're going to say because they lost, they're not non-competitive teams. Penn State is the most competitive team in the Big Ten against Ohio State and Michigan.
Because it feels like everybody knows they can take care of the second-tier teams in the Big Ten. They've shown the ability to do that. They always bring up James Franklin's record against Ohio State and Michigan. That's always
what they should have done is put one of those teams on the other side. Is what if you really want to keep them playing.
Here's why they didn't. They didn't put one of those teams on the other side because it guarantees them in most cases. The exception would have been, unfortunately, the year Penn State won in 2016 because they had 2 losses. And we've never seen a 2-loss team make it as a conference champion into a 4-team playoff, and we won't, by the way, after this year. So next year that'll be different, right? Because we have a 12-team playoff, and that'll be entirely different. But it guaranteed
that you're going to get a Big Ten team into the playoffs. Yeah,
because you had a weaker team coming out of the West with one of your strongest teams in the country out of the East.
I get it. But if they wanted to really make the thing for real in the Big Ten, put Michigan or Ohio State on the other side.
Well, and by the way, we get to see that next year with the realignment with 4 more teams coming in, and it's going to be fascinating. Because I think the bigger question is, if you're a Penn State fan right now, and you're hot and bothered about what's taking place this season. I mean, look, I'll say this: the issue was the offense. I said it after Ohio State.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And I felt that way. I felt that way last year when I saw this team.
Because you were right last year.
But
you were correct on both.
So you have to give James Franklin credit for seeing it again, addressing it, and now let's see who hires and give the man an opportunity. He's been extremely successful at Penn State. But I think the bigger question will be with, Washington, Oregon, right, who are coming into this conference, USC, UCLA. Washington and Oregon right now are potential playoff teams. How many teams get into the 12-team expanded playoff? And how does the entrance of Oregon, Washington, really good programs, impact Penn State's ability to still stay as one of the top teams? I mean, if we're giving off top 3 teams, it's Ohio State, Michigan, and then Penn State. But with Oregon and Washington entering into the mix, do they get knocked down even more? Or do they stay right in their spot at 3? And maybe can they continue to climb? There's a lot of interesting things that are going to take place with this realignment and more teams coming to it.